Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to the Isaac Hayes Show, talking about life, talking about liberty, and yes, talking about the pursuit of happiness and showing you and everyone in the world that Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you had a good weekend. Just remember that this is the day and the weekend that the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize. The beginning of Friday's stream went well until about 30 minutes, and we had some interruptions. But hopefully we have all that fixed. We have all that fixed. If you were listening on Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook, and you want to continue listening to the stream, you can always go find it on the podcast side. That worked fine. That the audio side and the Spotify video uploaded great. Everything worked good on that end, but I do want to apologize. I feel obligated to apologize. This weekend had a real busy weekend. We had the Joe Rogan Experience podcast come out with Donald Trump. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit, but that happened on Friday. Was busy Friday after work. Saturday, it was my little sister's birthday, so we celebrated her birthday. And then Sunday we had church. Saturday night we also had a worship service. So yeah, so real busy here in the Hayes household. If you notice, I am wearing my work uniform. As a lot of you know, this video is premiere. It says live on a lot of platforms. That just means we're releasing the show, and the Rumble Studio allows me to show it live, and it helps out with the numbers as well. So, if you're in the live chat right now, please comment. Tell me where you're from. And if you notice, I'm probably already said welcome to everybody. So, but I'm in my work uniform. It's early Monday morning at the time of this recording, but that's okay. God is in control, and we're going to have a great show. Let's go ahead and talk about the headlines this weekend. Trump's big weekend before the election. I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. I think this was probably one of the best weekends of Trump's campaign. He had a lot of publicity. Now, we know what the left-leaning media is going to say. They're going to say that this was all like a reenactment of a Nazi event that happened in the late 1930s. I believe is a far stretch, but Tim Waltz and the Wicked Witch. Oh yeah, I can't talk this morning. The Wicked Witch of the North. A little bit of Halloween theme right there, which I don't celebrate, but hey, it fits the narrative today. But anyway, going back, we're going to talk all about that later on. But yeah, so Donald Trump appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rogan has 17 million followers, if I'm not mistaken, on YouTube, and I think 9 million on Spotify, something around there. This man has millions and millions of followers. I said views. I mean followers. Like I said, it's earlier Monday morning. I apologize for as the Democrats and the Republicans way we misspoke. But Joe Rogan had Donald Trump on for 3 hours. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the time of this recording, I did not watch the full 3 hours. Again, 3 hours of video to go ahead and dissect would be it would be the whole show. It would be the whole show from the Joe Rogan podcast. But Joe Rogan, if we had to mention a podcast that is more successful than any other podcast, it would be the Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan made podcasts famous with his Joe Rogan Experience, and Joe Rogan does a real good job. What I like about his podcast, normally it's not cut, normally it's not edited, it's just unfiltered. And they don't shy away from topics. And I don't know all of Joe Rogan's political views, but Joe Rogan made this, if I'm not mistaken, made this podcast to bring out views like he brought out on Friday with Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to be fair, Kamala Harris was supposed to be on the Joe Rogan Experience too. She was bragging about it, and all of a sudden she hasn't showed up. And even Joe Rogan has said it. This is according to the Daily Wire. Joe Rogan, Kamala Harris was supposed to do my show, has not shown up. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't think Kamala Harris could have done 3 hours with Joe Rogan like Donald Trump has done. I don't think Joe Biden could have done 3 hours. Now, we're talking about Donald Trump being there, but again, why didn't Kamala Harris show up? Well, just the questions that I'm hearing were asked on this interview. I have a real good friend that was a Robert Kennedy supporter. Said he heard it for the whole 3 hours, and he said this couldn't have happened at a better time. Again, look on. Let's go ahead and bring the numbers. I cut Rogan short a little bit. Rogan has 14.5 million followers on Spotify alone. Now, Spotify is our host website here at the Isaac Hayes Show. And Spotify for podcasts has helped get our podcast out to several other podcast platforms. But on YouTube, 17.6 million followers. Now, I don't know if they played the whole 3 hours on YouTube, but there's going to be clips from that, and people are going to hear Joe Rogan. Now, at the time of this recording, I heard Joe Peggs say that this interview reached 22 million views, and that was Saturday morning, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably got millions more views now. But just think of the numbers. 17.6 million followers on YouTube. Now, look, I have not had the opportunity to talk to that many people at one time, but Joe Rogan talks to that many people on a daily basis. Now, this is subscribers, and I understand I'm in the social media business. I understand that's not watches, but when your watches exceed over your subscriptions and your followership, that means people are watching it. And they went ahead and talked about tons of issues. According to Fox News, and look, I'm being honest with you, I have not heard the whole interview. Again, 3 hours. I was planning on doing it before, but what I'm hearing is good reports, and I got the top 5 that Fox News says. Trump asked Rogan to explain why he's getting bad publicity. You say a lot of wild, and they say language that's not good. That was a few questions. They explain the process of choosing political nominations. Once he got into office, Trump discussed his internal appointments of John Bolton, who served as White House National Security Advisor in 2019. Trump fired Bolton, who remains a stark critic. Trump describes how Phil Ruffin, a fellow American businessman, warned him that Bolton was a bad guy, but by then Trump had already hired him. And he was right, but he was good in certain ways. He's a nut job. And every time I had to deal with a country when they saw that whack job standing behind me, they said, man, Trump's going to go to war with us. He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East. They should have never done it. I used to say it as a civilian, so I always get more publicity than other people, Trump said. And they go into that. Rogan tells Trump the rebels are forgot to hit the button on the alarm. All right. Rogan tells Trump the rebels are Republicans now. Elon Musk agrees. They talked about that. Trump says he told North Korean Kim Jong-un to just relax, go to the beach. A few things that were said. They talked about RFK, and like I said, a 3-hour-long interview, ladies and gentlemen. And look, like I said, people watched it. And what I'm hearing from it, again, I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw a little bit of Donald Trump, a little bit. It was a little bit, but I heard it was good. So, but I can't do it as good as Dr. Mike. So, but what I'm hearing was it was good. And people saw Donald Trump for who he was in this interview. Okay. I hear a lot of people that say they met Trump and they say he's unfiltered. They say he's He's he likes to joke around, and we saw this in this interview. It looked like Joe Rogan and Donald Trump really had a good time with this interview. Now let's go back to again, bringing up comparison. And look, I like anyone that's listening to this to comment and let me know. Do you honestly think that Kamala Harris could have done a 3-hour interview like this? Do you think Kamala Harris could have done a podcast where she could go ahead and just talk about all the issues that Donald Trump talked about? Look, that was just the top 5 or the top issues that they talked about and people highlighted in the Fox News article that I just read. But do you honestly think Kamala Harris could have done it? Now, there's a reason why she isn't doing this. Remember, Joe Rogan said she was supposed to do my show. She hasn't showed up. Donald Trump showed up. Donald Trump beat her to the punch on this interview. Now, 9 out of 10, they're going to try to find a interviewer to give her this, to give her some spots so she could say, look, I went on a podcast. Look, but she could not stay for 3 hours with questions that Rogan was going to ask her. Rogan asks hard questions. Now, I think Rogan, if I'm not mistaken, is more leaning to the left. But could you imagine the sound bites coming from the Joe Rogan experience? Donald Trump would have a field day with ads. The Joe Rogan experience, the reason she ain't doing it is because it's going to hurt her. Now, she might say, well, I've been on podcasts that are popular. I promise she will never be on a podcast that's more popular than the Joe Rogan experience. She can go on Call Your Daddy or whatever. She will not have that publicity. It's not going to work. Because, look, Joe Rogan is a beast on his own. And again, when you start hearing good stories coming from the Joe Rogan experience, I think Donald Trump probably reached reached more audience than he ever would with the Joe Rogan experience. And I think this was a good move. And again, to my knowledge, he did not waver. He did not have any issues. He was in his element. He was talking to a podcaster. And look, this is the thing about podcasting. And if you notice, it's like I'm talking to you guys. I'm voicing my opinion. It's like I'm having a conversation with somebody. And I love doing it. I love having conversations with people. And that's what podcasting is supposed to be. Podcasting is not talk radio. Okay. And look, I treat this as talk radio sometimes. But this podcast is really just us having a conversation. Now, there's sometimes I have guests and we talk about things. But ladies and gentlemen, podcasting is just having a conversation. And look, a lot of people want to debate me. Hey, let's debate. And I say, well, let's just have a conversation. Let's be Americans and let's have a conversation. Let's sit down and let's just talk in civil tones. And people will decline that because they rather have a debate where we're yelling at each other instead of having a conversation. Now, I'm going to tell you, people probably saw a side of Donald Trump on the Joe Rogan experience that no one ever saw before. A man willing to have a conversation. And I think this is going to be good for Donald Trump. Again, this was just one part of his big weekend. And the second part of his big weekend would be his rally at Madison Square Garden. Now, Madison Square Garden holds around 19.5 thousand people. Madison Square Garden is not the biggest arena, but it's one of the most famous arena. We're talking about Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, I believe, is one of the co-founders and owners of the UFC with Dana White. Now, Dana White did appear in Madison Square Garden endorsing Donald Trump, by the way. And Dana White has been an outspoken supporter of Donald Trump for the last several years. But Donald Trump held this Madison Square Garden event in New York City, and the stadium was packed. Over 19,000 people. Close to 20,000 people showed up, and the stadium was packed. Now, granted, Donald Trump did have some big names there, but the speakers did not come out until Sunday afternoon. This was done on a Sunday, and you had people sleeping on the streets, waiting to get into this arena. It was sold out within minutes of being announced. And Donald Trump, look, again, the left-leaning media, they've made some points. They're like, oh, well, Donald Trump, they had people leaving while Donald Trump was speaking, and they had this, and they try to make this event look bad. And we're going to talk more about Hillary Clinton and Tim Walz in a little while. But they were trying to make this event look bad. But I'm going to tell you this. Donald Trump did not have to bring Beyonce on the stage to get all these people like Kamala Harris did in Texas. And I think this is what Kamala Harris was doing with her event in Texas. She was trying to say, well, you're going to go to a deep blue state. I'm going to go to a deep red state, and I'm going to draw a crowd. She did draw a crowd. You cannot deny the fact that they had thousands of people in Houston, of all places. Now, Houston is a blue city. See, look how the media twists this. She went to a red state, yes, but she went to a blue city that is probably going to vote for her. Houston is extremely liberal, so she went to a blue city to get her crowd. Donald Trump went to a blue city and drew crowds over 20,000 plus. Now, Madison Square Garden holds 20,000, close, give or take. But Madison Square Garden, they had people outside Madison Square Garden wanting to hear Donald Trump. Donald Trump puts up these big TVs, and people could watch him outside the arena. There's videos and footage on Fox News and many other conservative websites that are showing these huge lines. But when you have a few people walking out of the event, the mainstream media, like Politico, wants to, people are leaving the event. But it's funny how Politico and other news events will not show Kamala Harris's rally, that after Beyonce spoke for 2 minutes, when it was advertised that Beyonce was going to perform, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that, but my knowledge is that they advertised it as, she's going to perform. When Beyonce spoke, there was droves that were leaving after Kamala Harris got on the stage. You didn't see that from mainstream media. I saw that, I believe, from the Daily Wire or another conservative news site. And this wasn't video of her rally. This was video with people taking with their cameras on their phones. See, you notice the left-leaning media didn't show that, but they want to show Donald Trump, people leaving out of Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden, which was very few. And again, this event was powerful. Trump spoke, Robert Kennedy spoke, Tulsi Gabbard spoke, the Hulk Hogan spoke, Dana White spoke. They had a lot of people, and that's another thing too I want to bring out. Just thinking about it, the celebrities that are supporting Donald Trump, by the way, you hear about Eminem, you hear about Beyonce, you hear a lot of famous people, Leonardo DiCaprio, and all these people that are supporting Kamala Harris. And you see the media flash all these names, but you notice the mainstream media is not showing how Dana White, how Hulk Hogan, and many other famous people are endorsing Donald Trump. This is propaganda at its finest, because they're trying to say, see, all these celebrities are supporting Kamala Harris. You support them if you like their videos. But what about all the other celebrities that are supporting Donald Trump? See, you won't hear that in the left-leaning media. Again, Hulk Hogan is a very influential person. Same thing with The Undertaker, that is endorsing Donald Trump now. You have several wrestlers that are supporting Donald Trump. Now, a lot of people say, well, UFC and wrestlers, they're mainly conservative. It don't matter. People know them, and they reach people. The media will not highlight anything good about Donald Trump, as we're about to see. Because the mainstream media is criticizing this event. They're trying to say that this event was not as big as it was. Again, look, I seen video. Look, before Trump spoke, several hours before Trump spoke, that arena was full. People were there to have a good day. People stood all night and all day to see Donald Trump or to see what was going on in Madison Square Garden. And the left-leaning media has been pushing that, this was a racist event. We have a political article right here. Trump's New York homecoming sparks backlash over racial and vulgar remarks. See, they're trying to make this as a racist event. These people were just speaking racism and vulgar language. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. What about Democrats? What about Democrats calling Republicans Nazis and fascists, as Kamala Harris did? What about Democrats that call Republicans Nazis and comparing this event to a Nazi event, like Tim Walz and Hillary Clinton? Hillary Clinton compares Trump campaign event to Nazi rally. This was the Daily Wire. She was on, I think, on NBC, saying that this event she was comparing it to a 1930s event when Hitler came and used Madison Square Garden. It's kind of funny that the Democrats can call Republicans names all day long, like call them racist, homophobic, vulgar, but Republicans can't go ahead and call them names. Now, look, this is another story I have. Speakers at Trump's MSG rally insult Dems and minorities. Now, first off, insulting Dems, in their word, is their name calling, or saying their policy. Oh, that's name calling. But again, why can't Republicans call names, but Democrats can call us anything they want? And first off, this is a political event. You're going to have some insults of the other party. Now, like they say, well, racism. What was racist about the event? Because they talk about, it was all the speakers talk about racist and vulgar remarks. I can't believe they did it. And they don't give that much evidence. Is it? Yeah, I know what it is. Oh, well, it's racist to have a border wall. It's racist to go ahead and talk about to stop the flow of migrants coming across the border. The left is going to try to make this event bad because it was bad for them. Again, I don't think Kamala Harris could probably fill Madison Square Garden. I could be wrong, because in the blue state of New York, I understand. Well, the blue city of New York, upper New York is very conservative, what I'm hearing. But this made Donald Trump look good. Because it was good for Donald Trump. For Donald Trump to go into a blue state, especially a blue city like New York, and sell out an arena, that is pretty amazing. And I can hear some of the critics. Donald Trump's a famous person. People are going to go see him because of The Apprentice. They lie. So you're telling me that they're just going over there because he's a popular person? Or because they're supporting him? And I think this is support. Now, there's some people that are saying he's after New York and he's hoping to win New York. New York has not been won since 1984. And this was when Reagan did it. Now, if Donald Trump wins New York and he wins California, which I highly doubt, if I had to give a percentage, he probably got less than 10% of winning New York and California. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong on election night. I hope me and Kelby that are doing our election coverage, and possibly other guests that are going to be on here, we have guests lined up. I would hope we're sitting here and I'll say, Kelby, we have a big surprise. Donald Trump won California. Donald Trump won New York. I'm hoping we say that. It'll make the night a lot easier for us, because I tell you, if Donald Trump wins California and New York, Kamala Harris is done. It'll make our job a lot easier that night. I doubt that happened. I'm not trying to get hopes high. I'm not preaching red wave. I'm not preaching a landslide victory for the Republican Party, because this race is pretty tight, and all the races that are following are pretty tight. A lot of people worried about the House. I'm just saying. For Donald Trump to go into a blue city and attract a crowd like this, that's something. This is making Kamala Harris look bad. Where she had to go to Houston, she went to a red state but a blue city, and then people walk out after Beyonce talked for 2 minutes. This weekend was very good for Donald Trump. And in the home stretch, we're a little over a week away until Election Day. Donald Trump's campaign is doing very, very well. And I think Donald Trump pulls it off. We just got to hope and wait and see. All right, let's move on to the other big news of this weekend. And this was, we knew it was coming, but the war in the Middle East has ramped up. As you know, Israel has been in war for the last year and few weeks. This started with Hamas brutally attacking Israel. When Israel went to retaliate, you had people in countries say, "Oh, Israel has the right to defend themselves." Say, "Hey, they can get punched all the time, but they can't go ahead and throw a punch." Um, like I know I'm probably gonna get some heat with this, but like a Mayweather fight. Mayweather always putting up the gloves until the opponent gets so tired he punches him. That's what they want Israel to do. Just throw up the blocks, block the punch, but don't get punched. Don't throw a punch. So, but this is what was going on. They went ahead and retaliated against Hamas, killed the Hamas leader. While attacking Hamas, Hezbollah said, "Oh, you're not gonna go ahead and attack Hamas. We're gonna go ahead and attack you from the northern front." They attacked from Libya. Israel took care of the Lebanon. Took care of Hezbollah's leader, one other terrorist group. I can't think of the name at the moment. But Iran, in retaliation for Israel taking out all these leaders, went ahead and attacked Israel. Not once, but twice. One time sending over 300 rockets and drones. Then the second time was ballistic missiles. And Israel told them, "You better watch out. We're going to retaliate." Now, this drew criticism from the Biden administration because Biden and Harris was telling Israel, "Hey, please don't attack their nuclear sites. Oh, please don't attack this. Oh, don't go after Iran." Why are you supporting Iran, the number one state of support of terror? I don't know. I'm not. It's hard. My brain hurts trying to understand Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Both of them. They're not smarter than a box of rocks, in my humble opinion. But Iran went ahead and struck Israel, and they said, "Ha ha, this is retaliation." And Israel kept telling them, especially Benjamin Netanyahu, "Don't do it." Now, Benjamin Netanyahu has survived this assassination attempt. He was not home. People tried to take out Benjamin Netanyahu, and he said, "You're going to feel sorry," while getting criticism from the Biden administration and several other countries telling him not to do it. Well, Friday night, Israel did what they said they were going to do. They retaliated. Israel strikes Iran. Massive explosions heard around Tehran. They went ahead and shot several military bases. They've shot several areas that are important to Iran. And Israel did what they said they were going to do. They were going to go ahead and blow Iran out the water if they did. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read a story from the Daily Wires. The Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, hit military targets throughout Iran during the early morning hours on Saturday in retaliation for Iran's launching more than 180 ballistic missiles into Israel at the start of the month. The IDF said in a statement that the strikes were now over and that its objective was achieved. Israel did not hit Iranian oil or nuclear facilities, which that would have been the heart of the issue. Okay, Iran has some military might, and yes, they maybe crippled them a little bit, but Israel should have tried to take out the oil and nuclear facilities. Why do I say that? Because Israel would have hit the heart and soul of Iran. That's how they make their money. And see, this is what Trump did well when he was in office. He went ahead and he fought Iran on these issues. And he told Iran, "Hey, don't do this or we're going to take away your oil or we're going to take away your nuclear supply." And guess what? Iran was weak under the Trump administration. Under the Biden administration, they have re-implemented the Obama-era Iranian deal, and now Iran is even more stronger than they ever were before. More than 100 combat aircraft launched from inside Israel, were used during the airstrike, according to the New York Times. Iranian media says several members of the military were killed during the strikes on 20 different locations, which concluded around 6 a.m. The IDF said that the fighter jets struck missiles manufacturing factories used to produce the missiles that Iran fired at the state of Israel over the last year. So, yeah, Israel flew jets. Now, look, Israel didn't fly drones. Israel didn't shoot missiles. They send their aircraft. And look, this shows how strong Israel is. Israel sent aircrafts to do the bidding, not drones. And look, I promise you, Benjamin Netanyahu was not hiding. He's not scared of Iran. Now, where is our fearless leader and his second in command while this is going on? Well, according to the Daily Wire, Biden on vacation, Kamala with Beyonce despise Israel's advance notice of Iran strike. So they let the president and the vice president know. Neither of them were in Washington. Now, understand this, okay? This is not our war. And we shouldn't be really worried about if Israel is striking Iran, but at the same time, we should, because this is the Middle East. And if somebody clipped their toenail wrong in the Middle East, all prices go up. And also, this is an ally that is facing war. We should be, in some way, shape, or form, encouraging them and helping them in their war efforts, especially against an adversary like Iran. Iran is not America's friend, by the way. I'm just saying. And they should be in the situation room ready just in case if something happens that needs to be addressed. No. Neither the president, Joe Biden, nor the vice president were in Washington, D.C. It's funny, she would take a break from the campaign for one day on Tuesday of last week and go hang out at her house, her residence, whatever, just to rest and chill. But she would not fly back to Washington, D.C. to address the Israel strikes. The absence of America's highest elected leaders come after U.S. officials were given at least 6 hours of advance notice about Israel's airstrike against the Islamic regime military facilities. Harris was in Houston, Texas for a political rally with Beyonce on Friday night. As there are less than 2 weeks left in the presidential race, Biden returned home to Wilmington, Delaware on Friday night. Biden is on his way in Delaware, and Harris on stage with Beyonce, said Representative Mike Waltz from Florida, even though the U.S. was apparently informed that Israel strikes on Iran would begin. Who is in the White House, he asked. Iran tried to downplay the strike, claiming that many of the explosions that were heard around the country came from Iran intercepting Israel fighter jets. That is a lie, an Israel official said. There have been no intercepts. And they talk about Iran and stuff, but where's our leaders? And see, this is the thing you have to wonder too in this election as you go vote. Where are our leaders? Do we have leaders? If an alien aircraft would come down and say, "Take me to your leader," could we honestly bring them to somebody? Or would Kamala cackle them out of the White House? Who is running this ship? And look, this isn't the first time that Harris and Biden are not around when a significant event happens. Ladies and gentlemen, these two people are not leaders. I'm sorry, they're not. They are followers, and they're following somebody that is leading our country down a bad way. Is that Barack Obama? Is that George Soros? I don't know. I'm just making a point right here. All right. Kamala Harris goes back to church last weekend. And this always interests me when I hear this. 2 weeks ago, she was at a rally where someone screamed, "Jesus is King and Christ is Lord." She looked at these young men that said this, who were I believe they were Gen Zs, by the way, looked at them and said, "Oh, you're at the wrong rally. You need to go to the smaller one down the road." And Christians, again, I'm still hearing how Christians can hear that and say, "Oh, we're still voting for her," when she openly denied Christ and told them they were wrong because she was talking about reproductive rights. Since then, Harris has appeared at more churches than she ever did in her lifetime. Remember, we talked about the church in Atlanta, Georgia, where she made some comments and trying to do damage control. Well, this week she was in Pennsylvania, I believe Philadelphia, where she spoke at a church and brought a new accent. Brought a new accent. And when I heard it, I thought she was mimicking a preacher. Because the way, look, I'm going to tell you this. As a preacher and a minister, preaching the gospel is an art form. Okay? And I'm not talking about as like art as for to admire, because there's Christians that, there's sermons out there that have to be preached, is open rebuke. But as a minister, you have to put a sermon together to get your point across. It's like this podcast. If I want to get a point across, I have to go ahead and line up the stories and talk about the stories. Or I have to figure them in a way where they're going to make a point. And there's some preachers that are very loud. There's some that are very soft toned, but they get their point across. And the way she was talking at this rally, it reminded me, because she used the famous scripture that says, joy comes in the morning. Morning comes in the evening, but joy comes in the morning. And she was like, I tell you, joy comes in the morning. And if you listen to traditionally black ministers, you would see that that's how traditional black ministers speak. It's the same thing with a lot of Pentecostal ministers, white Pentecostal ministers, when they will say, they'll read some in the Bible and say it with me, and they did this, and everybody repeats it. You have a certain style that ministers preach, and I think this is what she was mimicking. She was trying to, but she said it in a Southern accent. Now, this is not the first, not the second, but I believe the third, the fourth time where she appears at a rally and changes her accent to try to appeal to the people. And ladies and gentlemen, she's getting hit with criticism, because everybody's saying, this was reported by someone that this is a quote from someone. Everything about this woman is fake. And this is what makes Kamala Harris look bad. Even in her first presidential run, everything she did was fake. It looked fake. Breaking, Kamala Harris unveils a new accent at a black Philadelphia church. Popular conservative X account in Wokeness posted Sunday, accommodated by the video of Harris at the event. Harris traveled to the Church of Christian Compassion in Philadelphia on Sunday morning, where she spoke to a prominent black congregation, telling them that in just 9 days we have the power to decide the fate of our nation for the generation to come. Here in Pennsylvania right now, each of us have the opportunity to make a difference, because this moment we do face real questions. What kind of country do we want to live in? She said, this great thing about living in the democracy is we, the people, have the choice to answer that question. So let us answer not just with our words, but by our works. She went ahead and quoted the book of Psalms in her remarks. She also talked about Paul. She made a comment, and this is another article where she was hackled and the band started playing so people wouldn't hear it, and these people were escorted out the church. Now, if these people were members of this church, they need to leave. But they hackled her also at this event, and she said that she referenced the biblical story of the Apostle Paul. When someone began shouting, Harris stopped speaking and clapped as the church band sounded music to drain out the hackle, who was not captured at the event. She also went ahead and said that her winning the election would fulfill God's will, and I'm like, no, it will fulfill somebody's will, but it wouldn't be God's will. She made this comment: in just 9 days, we have the power to decide the fate of our nation for the generation to come. And on this beautiful Sunday morning, I remind God expects us to help him. Harris said through laughing, with applause, we got work to do. Like Paul, we must remember that divine power works through our actions, and we have the power to move past division, fear, and chaos, Harris told the congregation later on. It is within our power to fulfill the promise of America and the promise of creating opportunity for every child, and to protect our base our basic freedoms, the power to do justice, love, mercy, walk humble with our God, power the black church understands and has used for generations. Now, a couple of points I want to make here that's thinking about this. First off, it's funny how the Democrats always talk about separation of church and state until they need the church. Think about this, okay? Kamala Harris, again, a couple of weeks ago said, hey, you're at the wrong rally when some Christians said, hey, Jesus is king and Christ is Lord. You're at the wrong rally. Ever since then, she looked bad. The church has exposed her. Podcasters like myself have exposed her for saying this, but she's going to go ahead and attend 2 weekends in a row black churches. Now, she's trying to get the black vote and she's trying to get the Christian vote, but you get what I'm saying. It's funny how the Democrats always say separation of church and state until they need the church to try to win the elections. It's just kind of funny with that. Also at that point, she's comparing herself to the Apostle Paul. How blasphemous could you get? I promise you, Paul would not have endorsed the death of the unborn. Paul would not have endorsed open borders. I heard a preacher, Gary Himlick, from Cornerstone Chapel in Virginia, one of the biggest churches in America, talk about this in a recent video on his Election Day sermon. The Bible covers gay marriages in the Bible. The Bible covers border security. The Bible covers the unborn. The Bible covers all this. Before there was a word, politics. So Kamala Harris trying to compare herself and say that she is fulfilling God's expectations and for us to help him. First off, God don't need help. If God wants Kamala Harris in office, he's going to put Kamala Harris in office. He said this in Daniel. I set kings up and I bring them down. So it don't matter what Kamala Harris. So if she don't win for president, we're not fulfilling God's choice. No, God's going to put whoever he wants in there. Well, then why we vote? Because we have a civic duty to vote and to tell people, hey, we stand on biblical principles. We have a right to vote. We don't have a right. We have a duty to vote as Christians. So all you Christians out there that I'm hearing that don't want to go vote, if you don't do that, you have a problem. But for Kamala Harris to compare herself to Paul, God help us. Again, what about the church that allowed this? Okay, I promise you, this was not a sermon to go listen to encourage your faith or to rebuke you in your faith. This was a political event. Now, I want to say this before we move on to the next story. What if Donald Trump would show up to a church? Okay, I follow Jimmy Swaggart Ministries and Family Worship Center, which Pastor Donnie Swaggart is getting some criticism because of a remark he made in a sermon a couple of days ago, where he said, look, it's funny how we're talking about this, the black church goers or the prominent black church attendants. Donnie Swaggart said, where are y'all at? Why are y'all endorsing evil? And you have now the black community and the black churches coming out against Brother Swaggart. But to the point, it's funny that, that they're criticizing. They're opening Kamala Harris to come in. Again, no separation of church and state no more. But what if Donnie Swaggart would go, Donnie Swaggart would invite President Donald Trump to Family Worship Center? The left-leaning media would go ahead and say, separation of church and state, they're bringing politics into the church. How dare they do this? But Kamala Harris can stand 2 weeks in a row at a prominent black church and compare herself to Paul and say that she's fulfilling God's role and bring out an accent to try to fit into the crowd. And you're not hearing nothing from the mainstream media? Again, nothing about separation of church and state. You're not even hearing atheists that are Democrats criticize Kamala for going to church. Why? Again, she's trying to get the black vote, and she's also trying to get the Christian vote. But I think people are seeing through her hypocrisy. All right, next story. Kamala Harris had a rally where she brought up abortion doctors. And I seen the video. They had all these people that are in white coats that are up there, and they're talking about reproductive rights, which is abortion rights. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Look, I hope the people they're all right that had the medical emergency, because they had 2 people that had a medical emergency here. Now, look, you got, let's say, maybe 15 white coats standing on the stage. So it said a dozen doctors. So, like I said, this is funny, and they're talking about reproductive rights, and there was a medical emergency. Now, these are doctors, okay? If you go to medical school, yeah, you might specialize in one field, which is cool. You can do that. But you have to take the whole, to my knowledge, if you go to medical school, you can't just look at one field. You have to study all medical field. If you hear a doctor, hey, a doctor is a doctor. Hey, they can help out. Well, they had 2 medical emergencies, and these doctors are on stage. They need medical assistance here. They need medical assistance there. Now, look, I'm not saying these weren't doctors. I'm not making that point. It's just kind of funny. These doctors didn't know what to do. Okay, look, I can't remember the oath that they take. I can't remember the name at the moment. But don't their oath say that you have to help people in need? Don't you got to try to save life if you can? But instead of jumping off the stage, they wanted to stay on stage and stay in the spotlight, or they didn't know what to do. It was just kind of funny. Oh, we need medical emergency. Oh, we need some doctors here. Is there a doctor in the house? You have like 12 of you up there. Oh, we're specialized in abortion. We can't go ahead and help people. Reproductive rights, though. Just saying. All right. Cutting short on time. Let me go ahead and jump through all this. J.D. Vance also had a weekend where he rebuked the media. This started with J.D. Vance confronting CNN Tapper for pushing Russian collusion narrative. Talk about it nonstop. Now, this was a question J.D. Vance got, I think about, let me see, the lack of integrity in reporting. So JD, during the contentious interview on CNN, GOP vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance blast anchor Jake Tapper and his network for their lack of integrity in reporting on former President Trump, according to them, of peddling the Russian collusion narrative as if it was real. The moments came after Vance and Tapper sparred over allegations from ex-Trump White House Chief of Staff John Kelly that Trump once claimed he wanted generals like Hitler had. Vance pointed out how Tapper's network fixating on reporting about these kinds of anti-Trump claims, bringing up CNN's reporting of alleged collusion between Trump and Russia to steal the 2016 election as an example. A viewer of your network would have believed that Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016. That was totally and possibly false, Vance stated. The exchange began when Vance calling out CNN's integrity after denying Kelly's claim about Trump's fascist impulses that went viral early this week and were pushed by the Harris campaign and other Democrat lawmakers. This is according to Fox News. So, and look, this happened. John Kelly went ahead and said, "Oh, Donald Trump wanted generals like Adolf Hitler's, no pushback or whatever." But, and CNN's running with this. Oh, look at it, John Kelly. And look, John Kelly, this has not been proven by John Kelly. Now, this was not the only time J.D. Vance had to stand up. J.D. Vance slammed Christy Walker, who helped debate one of the presidential debates, for dishonest questions during interviews. She shaped a question. This is from the Daily Wire. She framed a question that made Donald Trump look bad, and he had to go ahead and call her out. Walker pressed Vance to call Russian Vladimir Putin an enemy instead of an adversary. And J.D. Vance said, well, we're not at war with him and don't want to be at war with Vladimir Putin, Russia. He said, I think we should try to pursue advances of peace. Ain't Democrats always saying that? We need to have the diplomacy. We need to go ahead and make sure that we can do things without war. We can recognize adversaries that we have. Obviously, that we have adversary interests with Russia. He continued, we can't condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and I have, and of course the president has, but we also need to engage in some smart diplomacy. And if we ever going to get out of the mess that Kamala Harris has left us in and get back to the pursuit of peace. Walker then falsely claimed that Russia invaded Ukraine under former President Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump was president for 4 years while Russia was essentially invading Crimea, she falsely claimed. We didn't kick him out when he had the chance. He had 4 years. Now, this is a response because they say when we say Kamala Harris had 4 years to do stuff and she didn't do it, they're trying to switch the argument. But Vance's reply was pretty good. Oh, I think that's a misunderstanding of history, Kristen, and look at that much differently. Well, there was fighting going on, she said. Then Vance, first of all, we had Russia invade another country, a sovereign nation during Obama correctly noted. We had Russia invaded a sovereign nation during Bush's term. We had Russia invade a sovereign nation during the leadership of Kamala Harris. He put her in his place. So the media trying to spread false information. And J.D. Vance called it out. Great job, J.D. Vance. I'm thinking this guy was a right pick. All right. Last story of the day, and this is on a local story. And I texted my good friend Albert Gilley when I saw this. And I was like, wow, you made the news. And he texted me back and he said, yeah, how do I promote this? Well, I gave him my opinion. And but my good friend Albert Gilley, who we're trying to schedule for the show before the election because he is running in the 6th district of Louisiana. Now, this district is highly controversial because this was the one that this was the district that everybody was saying that Louisiana said, some Democrats said we need a second minority district. And this district is weird because it goes all the way to Shreveport, all the way to New Orleans, close to New Orleans. If you look at our congressional maps, it is, I'm sorry, and look, I'm not trying to call my fellow Republicans stupid, but it was stupid, okay, to draw this map. And there was a lot going on with this map. There was a lot of legal battles, but Albert Gilley is the one Republican against 4 Democrats in this race. Now, Cleo Fields is his main opponent. Now, there's some that believe, and I believe Guillory believes as well, that this is going to go to a runoff between him and Cleo Fields. It depends how the people vote. But Cleo Fields is clearly the front runner. He's the Democrat. But Albert Guillory is the second because he's the Republican. Let's hope there's enough Republicans in this district that's going to bring Guillory over the top. But Guillory went ahead and released an ad, and it is explaining his decision to switch to the GOP. Now, I know Albert Guillory. Albert Guillory is a real good friend of the program. And Albert Guillory left the Democrat Party because of the nonsense that was going on. He came to the Republican Party because we made more sense and we helped out the black community more. This is his own words. But he went ahead and released this ad, and guess what? Fox News caught it. And look, I'm glad because Albert Guillory needs to be exposed for the good he is doing. Now, he did run for lieutenant governor and was unsuccessful, but he has been a senator. He has been a representative of this great state of Louisiana, and he has done a good job representing the GOP. Now, I would hope that the House Republicans would help Mr. Guillory out. But what I'm hearing is I don't think they know. They think it's a lost cause. And that is wrong. They should not be thinking like that. They should be thinking, hey, we need to get this done. And look, this race is very key because we had 5 representatives for the Republican Party going from Louisiana up there. This whole district, the Democrats are pushing this district because this gives them one more vote in the House of Representatives. This is why the House of Representatives is so important, because if Donald Trump would get elected, these voices need to be behind him. But if we have another Democrat go there, guess what? It won't be heard. And we need Albert Guillory in Congress. We need several other Republicans to win. Like in District 2 is normally, here in Louisiana, is normally a Democrat state. There is Miss Lynch that is running in District 2. We had the opportunity to talk with Miss Lynch at the MAGA event, which I need to upload those interviews because we talked to a lot of good people out there. But we need candidates like Lynch. We need Albert Guillory to become be elected to the House of Representatives in Congress, to voice our opinion and to stand behind Donald Trump if he's lucky enough to get elected. So, but with that being said, go check out Albert Guillory if you're in the 6th district of Louisiana, I think he'll be a good choice for you. I told someone I encouraged someone to vote for him the other day. So but we were going to have to get Albert here on the show. With that being said, that's going to wrap up this show. I am, at the time of this recording, I have to get to work. We'll be live Wednesday at 10 a.m. again. You can go ahead and follow us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and many other platforms. Just check out the website in the bottom of the description. I want to thank everybody for listening. Remember, November 5th is coming, is right around the corner. We are planning our election day coverage. You need to be here. You need to be here and watching us. Don't watch fake CNN. Don't watch fake MSNBC. Look, I like Fox News, but hey, listen to me and Kelby and possibly another host. We're working on something. I'm just saying. But me and Kelby for sure will be here on election night, giving you full coverage of the election of 2024. Until next time, you be blessed. You be encouraged. You have a rest of a good Monday to you guys. We will see you next time here on the Isaac K. Show.